What's going on, you guys? I wanted to talk to you today about the Mary Poppins Leia scene. Why did they do this? It's got a lot of people annoyed. This isn't going to be a complete slam of this scene, although I do have my criticisms for it and suggestions. We're going to kind of talk about it, and I'll tell you about like how I felt about this scene and why I think they did this. Maybe I would have done it differently, but basically, the scene I'm talking about is where the bridge of the Raddus gets destroyed in The Last Jedi, and the whole command crew gets sucked out into space, and Leia comes back and does her Mary Poppins kind of thing. So, first off, when I first saw this scene, I was thinking, wow, this is how it ends. Because, don't forget now, when we went to go see The Last Jedi in the theaters, we were all under the impression, well, we know that this is Leia's last film, and it was hard to see her at the very first scene because, you know, it was very easy to get teary-eyed when you're watching Carrie Fisher's last movie. It was a tough situation to watch. So, that being said, you know, seeing her at the time when you're thinking, oh my gosh, she's dead. And there was a little bit of CGI with the ice on her face there, and I thought, and we're like, oh, okay, well they had to put this in, and that's what I was thinking. Right? I was like, oh, they had to you know, touch up this scene because they didn't get to film it or something like that. And I'm thinking, wow, she looks like, kind of like an angel in space. And it was, you know, it was heartbreaking, and so like there were tears running down the face at this scene. So for everybody, I think when you saw this for the very first time, a lot of people I know were right there with me. Were like, oh my gosh, this is how it ends. And then we get the part that messed with a lot of people, that confused a lot of people. I wasn't sure how I felt about this, because then all of a sudden she starts to come back, and you're like, wait a second, I thought she was going to die. So I think there's reasons for this, because we get a lot of there's a lot more scenes with her, and I think if they had decided to go back, because all of her scenes were already shot. The movie was almost done by the time that Carrie passed. So by the time, or at least all the, you know, the filming, there were special effects and, you know, post-production stuff that needed to be done, but the movie was basically done, or the filming. So if you were to go back, you'd have to make major changes if you're going to have her die right here at the very beginning of the movie, because she's in so many more scenes. So that's one reason. But another reason is I think that she might be, you know, originally she was supposed to be in Episode 9. She was supposed to be a major part of Episode 9. And now that can't happen, it can still be a part of the story leading up to Episode 9. So a lot of that is going to depend on how they do things. So you know, she opens her eyes and she kind of flies back to, you know, to the Raddus. And people didn't like this. People called it the Mary Poppins scene. They thought it was unnecessary. You know, objectively looking at it, it's like, yes, she could have died there, but I don't know what the plans are going forward. And there's some other things that would have happened differently if she had. One thing I would have done differently, or considered doing differently, and this would have been kind of cool, is after she's flying through, you notice that there's a really cool scene where she flies right through, as she's going onto the bridge. She goes right through this projection of the Raddus. I'm sorry, she goes right through the projection of the Supremacy, which is Snoke's ship. Right here, you see her pass through this hollow projection of the ship. This is cool because, from a certain point of view, it's foreshadowing what happens later in the movie. So this leads people to the idea of, well, maybe she should have stayed behind to pilot, you know, the Raddus, and she could have sent it right through. And that would have been like this is like a prophecy and then a fulfillment. So it would have shown her coming back through and all of that. So that much is cool. And that's something that I think would have made more sense. Of course, ultimately, Akbar doing it would have been the best. But not talking about Akbar today. That's another ship for another ocean. For right now, like if Leia had piloted it, it would have given this scene a whole lot more awesomeness, because this bridge has been blown up, but all the electronics still work. Even the hologram projector didn't get damaged, so that's a little weird. So it seems like there had to have been a point, like they deliberately made her fly through this section of the Supremacy for a reason, and it feels like this was a setup with no payoff, which certainly was kind of a big theme in this movie, setups without payoffs, or with the sequel trilogy as a whole. again, I'm not angry at the movie. There are some things I would have liked to have seen, but I'm just nitpicking. And I think as a fan, it's okay to nitpick. I think we've always done that. Sometimes we poke fun at it. If I didn't love these movies, I wouldn't even be talking about them. And you know, it's okay to have, you know, to make fun of, like, to make jokes about Ewoks from the original trilogy. It's okay to make fun of, oh, sand, it gets everywhere, from the prequels and stuff like that. Where as fans, that's what we do. So we need to, I think, stop looking at any criticism of this movie as toxic, because I'm not trying to be toxic. I'm just trying to nitpick, and we'll talk about things because I love it. I like the way I like the journey that the movie took me on. I wasn't super pleased with certain things that happened, but a lot of that is contingent on what happens in the next movie. So there's another reason that I think that they did what they did, and they had her come back and not perish, is because there were other scenes that she was involved in that you would not have gotten if she had, you know, died out in space. Then you wouldn't have gotten her talking, or if she had also, you know, stayed on board the Raddus while everybody left. There's some important interactions that you wouldn't have gotten. She was in a number of scenes, but there's important character development that I think that she was supposed to be important for. Now, this is all going to be contingent upon what happens in episode 9. But she talks to Poe after the fact. So, you know, she had to have been removed, because Poe respects Leia. And for the most part, at least, he did disobey an order, but he still has love and respect for her. And not romantic love. You know, I'm talking about like the way we all love Carrie Fisher. So does he. But so if she was around, he wouldn't have started a whole mutiny against Leia. I think that much is clear. One of the reasons that he didn't like Holdo is because here's an imposter coming in for Leia that hasn't built up trust with me, so I don't trust them. So here, you know, she had to be removed. So having her in the coma after flying through space, that much is fine. If they already, you know, pulled my guts out of my chest and then shoved them back in with that scene. Okay, that was hard to watch. If Carrie Fisher hadn't died, that scene would have been totally different. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But her interaction with him after the fact, letting him know the plan, and this key important line of that Holdo was more important with getting us to safety and completing the mission than she was with being a hero. You know, this is potentially an important scene for Poe that's going to help guide him in the future, guiding him to becoming a leader. So she's building Poe up to be a leader in the future. If this pays off in episode 9, it will have proved to be an important decision. But if Poe just goes back to being, you know, a Wedge Antilles fighter pilot in episode 9, then this will have been garbage. So that's why I'm saying it all depends on how things resolve in episode 9. And the reason I have to say that, unfortunately, is because there was a lot of things set up in episode 7 that weren't paid off in episode 8. That's the annoying part. Some of them I could defend, some of them I'm annoyed with, like Knights of Ren. You know, were the Praetorian Guards the Knights of Ren? Was it maybe some were and some weren't? You know, were the Knights of Ren the same people that left with Kylo Ren? You know, like a lot of, you know, setups that deliberately didn't pay off, a lot of things that you really expected to see that didn't. Some of those things bother me. There's always that chance that they'll be paid off in episode 9 or what, but so because of those reasons, we have to now speculate, this is a setup for episode 9, and to a smaller extent a setup for later in episode 8, because Poe begins to follow some of this advice at the end of the movie. You know, not wanting to go out and fight the First Order in that last stand, instead trying to save the remnants of the Resistance. So you see a little bit of this, and this is a direct result of this conversation. So by having her not, you know, board the Raddus, you allow her to influence Poe's character, and I like Poe's journey. I like the idea of teaching somebody, it's, you know, the responsibilities of leadership. This is an important lesson, and so this much was good. But then you also have her interactions with Rey. This is an important one because all of, you know, Rey's development she got from Luke, and, you know, say what you will about Rey. I could do a whole nother video about Rey because I'm starting to come around. I've defended this movie an awful lot, and I still say it's an enjoyable movie, but I feel like Rey probably is a little too perfect, right? Maybe she's just a little boring, right? Either way, regardless of that, I'll save that for another time. She's probably going to need to get some guidance from Leia. And again, this all goes back to what I said before about you have to have, the contingency that if this pays off in episode 9, it will have proved to be a good decision. If in the storyline in between or in Rey's future in episode 9, if she has important lessons that she learned from Leia, then this will have proved to be a good decision. If not, if Rey, just continues to just, show that she's, the Force is just teaching her on its own, or however they want to describe it, then, because really, how much did Luke really teach Rey? So if she just decides she's going to be, super badass and blow away all the bad guys, and then there's no lessons learned from Leia, then what is the point of all this interaction? It seems like, and I think JJ will do this too, because if you remember in episode 7, Rey had never met Leia before, but then when they get off the Falcon at the end of the movie, Rey and Leia walk up and they hug like oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, come here, bring it in, girl. Like, you've never even met this person before, and I think they even admitted that was a mistake. But why was that a mistake? Why was that even written? Because there's supposed to be something special between these two. That's what I think, and I think it will really play into at least the beginning and then the opening crawl, and in this case, it's going to have to be a book. I think they're going to have to. I think there's going to have to be a book about Leia and Rey, because the Mary Poppins scene, and I'm sorry if that's offensive, because I'm not trying to criticize the way that she flew through space as much, other than it just tugged on my heartstrings because I thought she was going to die and she wasn't. But this way, but Leia flying through space is demonstrating to us that she knows a lot more about the Force than we thought she did. She's not just a general. She's also has learned a lot about the Force over the past 30 years. So maybe she will, in whatever book or whatever takes place before episode 9 is going to start, hopefully she will have trained Rey, and there will be some of that going on. But another good reason to not have Leia die is we wouldn't have gotten this scene. We would not have gotten, Luke and Leia back together on screen. And I think that's probably the most important reason. You really need to have Luke and Leia reunited on screen. I think we all wanted to see this. I wanted to see this. And as the movie was going on, because this was a long movie, I think when we hit the 2-hour mark, I was thinking we might not see Luke and Leia together. And it made me really, really sad. So when we finally got this scene, I exhaled and I took a sigh of relief, and I'm like, good. And for multiple reasons. For maybe we're going to see Luke actually stand up to the bad guys, which I really, really wanted to see. And we kind of got that, but not in the same way I wanted. But then, we finally got Luke and Leia, a scene with Luke and Leia. And this was a good scene. And I don't care what you say. This was powerful. This was really emotional. It still gets me. So this was phenomenal. So in summary, it all kind of boils down to this end scene, which also validates another theory of mine that Chewie did eat all the porgs and there's only one left, because there's only one on top of R2 right there, and they had completely infested the Millennium Falcon. Where are all the porgs? There's only one left. But despite the porg, I'll put a link to that video. But the other thing is, Leia and Rey, like the way she's holding Rey right there, it's kind of setting the scene for episode 9. Like, Rey is looking to Leia for guidance, and Leia says we have everything we need, and that's supposed to hopefully factor into episode 9 importantly, all of which you would not have been able to do if A, Leia died out in space, or B, Leia piloted the Raddus into the Supremacy. So if any of those things would have happened, you wouldn't have had all these other build-ups for episode 9. And it all comes down to, does episode 9 give you a payoff? And I'll throw the caveat in there that it could be a book prior to episode 9, because you're not going to be able to digitally include Leia and all this in like a training montage with Rey. That's going to have to be a book, Leia and Rey, completing the Jedi or something like that. I would bet money that there's going to be a book about that, and it probably will be announced this year. You know, or at least that they're working on that, and it'll probably come out just prior to Episode 9, and it'll fill in a lot of the pieces, because Episode 9 is going to take place most likely several years past Episode 8. And so, and the interesting thing about this is this sets up 9 to do who knows what. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen in 9, other than hopefully Rey will start some kind of Jedi Academy, or Rey will be basically like a full-fledged Jedi, or maybe a gray Jedi. Maybe Ahsoka will be in Episode 9. Who knows? Like, I mean, how cool would that be? Let me know in the comment section what you think that should happen in Episode 9. Let's not troll each other. Let's not say unnecessary things. If you have an opinion, by all means, try to give it in the most constructive way possible. I've tried to bring you some explanations on why I think they did that scene, why I think they made Leia survive until the last movie, even though we can't have her. Let me know if you agree or you disagree. Let me know what you think, guys. I do have another round of the giveaway going on right now. The only thing you need to do to enter to win that is to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. It's as simple as that, and you could win a gaming expansion of your choice in the form of a $20 Cool Stuff gift card. But yeah, let me know what you think, guys. I really hope we get some payoffs for this in Episode 9. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that bell for alerts when you subscribe, so you will get notified when I announce giveaway winners, the latest and greatest videos, and they're always coming out. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.